Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the Nike Book 1. So I finally got my hands on a pair, and of course this is Devin Booker's first signature shoe with Nike, and I got it right over here. So yeah, jokes aside, yes, it does look very similar to the Air Force Ones, which honestly I don't think that's a bad thing because Air Force Ones are iconic and everyone loves how these look. And I feel like, you know, back in the day, people used to wear hoop shoes as like casual shoes. For example, like the KD6s, people were wearing the KD6s with jeans and like a polo shirt and rocking casually, you know what I mean? But nowadays I feel like a lot of hoop shoes, people just keep hoop shoes on the court and they don't really rock it casually anymore because a lot of times it doesn't look like a casual shoe, you know? And sometimes they're very colorful and stuff like that. But with the Book 1, I really love how they look. It looks amazing in hand. This colorway looks also really nice. This is the Mirage V2 colorway, and this definitely looks like a shoe you can rock casually, but also you can definitely hoop with them as well because they are hoop shoes. They're Devin Booker's actual signature shoe. So this shoe retails for $140, which is crazy. A first signature shoe for $140 that's actually really expensive. Right? You guys remember when hoop shoes were like $110, you know, for a first signature shoe? $140 is kind of crazy, but the tech that you're getting is actually pretty good, kinda, you know what I mean? So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box, but let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, we have pretty much a fully translucent outsole with a herringbone traction pattern, right? Very old school, very traditional. It also says air zoom here in the heel because there is a zoom unit in the heel, which we'll get into. But yeah, how does the traction feel so far? It feels absolutely amazing. So just trying it on my wood floors, the bite is really good. There seems to be an amazing stop, so I'm very excited to play in these because of that. And for me, of course, traction is a prerequisite for an amazing basketball shoe. So yeah, I'm really happy about how it feels. The rubber compound seems very sticky, which I really like. Of course, we'll have to see on the dust performance. It does seem to be picking up a little bit of dust, right? I mean, I guess my wood floors are a little bit dirty, a little bit dusty, especially with the dog hair, but we'll have to see on the performance on dust, you know, once I actually play in these and bring it to the actual basketball court. But just on my wood floors, it feels really nice, right? Also, durability seems really good, which of course is a good thing as well, because like Nike is known for giving us really bad durability for their outsoles, right? They would give us nub traction, very soft rubber, very thin grooves. But here in the Book 1, the grooves are actually very thick, the rubber is hard too, and the grooves are deep. So it definitely, if you're gonna be playing on an outdoor court, this feels like a very durable outsole. So the overall traction is feeling really good so far, which I'm very happy about. Also, this shoe has a really loud squeak. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels overall pretty dang smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a little bit of a rounded shape, which is actually nice, you know what I mean? Comparing it to the Air Force Ones, right? First of all, look at this. This is literally just a 90-degree angle, so it feels really clunky in the heel because this is all just rubber, right? So there's no compression from the actual midsole and it's an edged out shape. So coming from the heel to the forefoot, it's just really, it's a slapper. You know, it's clunky, it doesn't feel nice. But here in the Book 1, we have a little bit of a curved shape, of course, right? That definitely does help. But also we have this TPU sidewall. So this actually is quite soft. You know, when you press it with your finger, it actually feels like pretty soft, you know? And another thing that I just noticed is pressing it on the medial side with my thumb, with my finger, there's more compression. I don't know if you guys can see, but this is actually, it feels softer here on the medial side comparing to the lateral side. The lateral side actually feels stiffer, which of course is a good thing as well, right? You don't want as much compression on the lateral side because for lateral stability, if it was too soft here, it might be unstable, but that's actually dope. I didn't notice that at first, right? So here on the lateral side, it's a little bit stiffer, it feels like. And then on the medial side, it's feels a little bit softer. So anyways, so it feels soft, you know, here in the heel, and then coming here into the forefoot, we have a little bit of a curved shape as well. It's not super curved, but it's still there, and it's a lot better than old school shoes like the Air Force One where, look at that, there's no curve, you know? So I definitely like that as well. And I like to think of the Book 1 as more of a modern hoop shoe, like a modern old school shoe, which of course I really like, you know? And also another thing that I like about the shoe is it's very, very flexible. Here in the forefoot, there's a lot of flex. It feels nice and seems to have a little bit of a spring back as well, which feels great as well. So when you're doing heel dominant strides, I'm sure it'll feel springy, but as of right now, it feels extremely smooth too, which of course is a huge plus comparing to old school shoes, right? And now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup is also extremely nice, right? So I was very surprised because when I first saw the leaked images, and also you guys remember when Nike released the actual images of the book 1 and gave us like the detailed breakdown, the dismantling and stuff like that, they said this was a TPU sidewall. So TPU is just plastic, and plastic can range from really soft to really stiff, you know? So I wasn't sure how hard it was gonna be, but there's actually a little bit of compression from the actual midsole, right? This part actually compresses, so that feels nice here for the compression in the heel. And also, as far as the insole goes, the insole is just a regular ortholite insole, so it's not super crazy or anything like that, but you know, it feels kind of nice for stepping comfort. But then underneath that, we can see a pretty, like, just a regular strobe board, you know, traditional strobe board. It is kind of stiff, but then we can see a top-loaded zoom unit in the heel. It's a pretty large volume zoom unit. It says it's 14 millimeters thick, so that actually feels pretty dang nice in the heel, and you can see the actual outline of it, which is pretty cool, right? And then in the forefoot, it's also kind of soft. Stepping comfort in the forefoot feels great as well because they are using a Cushlon 2.0 foam, right? So of course we have the TPU sidewall, and then for like the core of the actual foam, they're using Cushlon 2.0. And the forefoot actually feels kind of soft. You know, it's not amazing comparing it to, like, you know, soft mesh strobe board found in like the AG4 or the Wild 10, but it's actually quite soft. Now I feel like it'll break in pretty nicely as well. So forefoot cushion feels pretty nice for stepping comfort. As far as the court feel goes, it actually feels pretty good for court feel, right? Here in the forefoot, it feels low to the ground. The heel definitely feels a little bit thicker, but of course, that's a good thing, especially if you're doing heel strikes. And there definitely seems to be a pretty high offset, but overall, the cushioning setup feels really, really nice. I love the heel zoom unit for stepping comfort. The overall stepping comfort in the forefoot feels great as well. I love the compression here in the heel. So it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. You know, I thought it was gonna be something like this, you know, something super stiff like the Air Force One with this is pretty much rubber, you know what I mean? But actually feels really nice for the book 1. And now moving on to the upper, so they're taking it back to the old school. So as far as the first colorway that came out, you know, the orange one, it was using a different material, but as far as the overall colorways go, it seems to be using a selection of like suede and leathers, right? But here in this colorway, we have like a pretty nice leather material. It feels soft, but also it's actually thin. Right? Yeah, it feels really thin in hand and it feels really nice on foot. It conforms to my foot extremely well. There's no pinching at all. And compared to like old school shoes like this feels a good amount stiffer and also a little bit thicker as well. You know what I mean? So I like what they did here in the toe box for the book 1. And we also have an extra layer of material going around the toe box, just like in like all old school shoes. You know what I mean? But it definitely looks a little bit thinner in the book 1s. And then coming here into the midfoot, we have a nice textile material, right? And also the swoosh is a lot bigger, right? A lot thicker here in the book 1 comparing it to the Air Force Ones. But yeah, that feels pretty nice. And then for the tongue, it feels really, really nice. It's a very well padded tongue, which feels great. So it feels really cozy and comfortable right on top of your foot. It's also an independent tongue, which is pretty interesting, right? I guess, you know, D-Book, he wants like an old school type of shoe, and a lot of old school shoes have an independent tongue. A lot of modern shoes have a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit, but I really like how much padding they put here for the tongue. And also here in the ankle area, there's a lot of padding. It's super thick. It feels really, really comfortable and cozy, but doesn't really add that much bulk to the overall shoe, it feels like, right? So here in the back of the shoe, it feels extremely comfortable and very, very cozy. And here in the toe box, it feels more thin, but also extremely supportive. And also the quality of the material feels pretty dang nice. So for the $140 price tag, it feels great. And the same knit material that's found like on the lateral side here where the swoosh is, or around the swoosh, it's also on the tongue, which feels great for quality. And also for like a detailed look at the upper, we have for the pull tab, you know, this is inspired by a book spine, which is really, really cool. We have Devin Booker's birth year, 96. It says book here on the tongue. And then for the actual insole, we can see the swoosh, which is actually drawn by Devin Booker, which is a pretty cool detail. And then also inside of the tongue, we have the initials of his entire family as well. So there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size and this shoe fits me perfectly, right? So my toes go really close to the edge of the shoe. So I definitely feel like most people should go up half a size, especially for the length. If you go true to size, it's gonna be really snug lengthwise. It'll probably fit a little short. So for me, going up half a size, the length is really good. And also here in the toe box, it's really snug, right? As you guys can see, it looks really skinny at the tip of the toe, and I could definitely feel the top of the material like on my toenails. Like at the tip of my toe, this is kind of like squeezing it, which feels really nice and snug for the toe box. And also width-wise, I would say it's around normal to slightly narrow width. So it's a really nice fitting shoe. It's a nice snug fit for me going up half a size, and I suggest most people do the same if you want a nice snug fit. If you want a roomier fit or you want a wide fit, probably go up a full size, right? Or maybe a size and a half. And now moving on to the support and lockdown, right? So I mean, this shoe feels like it'll be pretty dang supportive because of the old school materials, right? So for the like sidewalls, you know, for lateral counters, it's not a whole lot going on, but with this old school material, it does feel very supportive. I am a little bit worried about, you know, my foot coming out of the footbed here in the forefoot, however, so we'll have to see on that. Because if you look at, you know, D-Book, when he was wearing the shoe, you can literally see his foot coming out of the footbed. You know what I mean? Especially here in the toe box. So I am a little bit worried about that, but we'll have to see on how supportive this actual upper is. I definitely feel like they should have added something here in the forefoot, right? But of course, here in the heel, there seems to be an internal TPU heel counter, so you're covered here in the heel, but in the forefoot, we'll have to see on that. Also, lateral stability feels like it'll be pretty good, right? So like I mentioned before, I love how they stiffen up the actual foam here on the lateral side. You know what I mean? And then on the medial side, it actually feels a lot softer. So on the medial side, you're not going to be rolling your ankle like this. You know what I mean? You're gonna be rolling your ankle like this. So if the foam is stiffer here on the lateral side, it's not gonna have as much compression, leading to more stability. And also we do have a little bit of an outrigger. Not really an outrigger, but it does protrude out here in the forefoot, right? You can see the rubber outsole and also the midsole protruding out here in the forefoot. Comparing it to the Air Force One, which is flat. There's nothing protruding out, so it literally, like, because of this edged out shape as well, if you went a little bit over this kind of angle, it felt like you were gonna roll your ankle if you ever played in the Air Force One. So that also is a nice modern design upgrade for the Book One compared to like the old school shoes, right? So, and also overall lockdown feels pretty good. You know, I'm not really experiencing any type of heel slippage so far. So supporting lockdown feels really good so far. Just a little bit worried about the forefoot lateral containment. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. That's something that I'm super curious about, but this shoe feels extremely lightweight. You know, so I'm very happy about that, and that probably has to do with the Cushline. The Cushline is a very lightweight foam, and I'm very surprised because the upper doesn't seem to be that thick or anything. It also doesn't seem that bulky, so I'm guessing like 11 ounces. Yeah, 11.65 ounces. Wow, let's check the other shoe. Yeah, 11.65 ounces. That is actually very light. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, and once it gets into like the 11.5 ounce range, that's actually considered very lightweight. So yeah, this shoe feels lightweight, but also really cozy, and reminds me a little bit of the Jaw Ones, right? The Jaw One also here in the toe box, it was thin, but then in the back of the shoe, it got a little bit more cozy. But then the Book One definitely takes it to a whole nother level because it feels like, you know, there's a little bit more padding, right? And also with the knit material and all that, it just feels a lot more premium as well. So I really like how the Book One feels on foot, and also feels like it'll be very responsive because the traction seems really good so far. Actually, I'm pretty curious how heavy the Air Force One is. It's probably like 15.8 ounces. I don't know how people would ever play in the Air Force Ones, but anyways, there's the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. You know what I mean? A lot of people have been hating on it. I've seen a couple of negative comments on the Book Ones, but honestly, I like it, you know, and a lot of people are saying it looks exactly like the Air Force One and some other old school shoes. However, I think that's a good thing, you know, because if you want to take your shoe out casually, you can with the Air Force One, but you can't really hoop in it. You know what I mean? It's super heavy, super clunky, not the best, especially compared to modern hoop shoes. But then with the Book One, it definitely feels like an updated and also upgraded version of the Air Force One and old school basketball shoes that you can still rock casually. So I really love the aesthetics of this shoe, especially with this colorway. This deep blue, like flat blue color looks absolutely amazing. You know, it's just one color for this entire entire upper. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, I am pleasantly surprised. The Book 1 is feeling absolutely amazing, and it feels like a really, really nice hoop shoe, right? There's only one thing that I am worried about, which is the lateral containment here in the forefoot, right? Hopefully my foot doesn't come out of the footbed that much, but everything else seems really nice. I love the cushion, the traction seems really good. Of course, we'll have to see on the dust performance as well, but I love how the upper feels on foot, and I love the aesthetic. So anyways, my first impressions of the Book 1 are looking really good, and I'm very, very excited to hoop in these. But anyways, that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.